Well, the greatest odds of you getting on the shopping list of your consumer, whether your customer's going to buy a car or whether use one of your services, is to ensure that you get onto this consideration list as early as possible and that you absolutely stay there. But with changes to your audience, how you get onto their shopping list is changing very quickly. And I like to think of the fact that the reason we love brands is the same as the reason that we love people. And if you think of the way you really like someone, it's similar to the way you might really like a brand. You like brands who are unique and who stand for something, who aren't fake, but who are authentic, and who can have a positive influence over you and your life. And when we think about it, the way in which we get to know people is very much like the way that we get to know brands. At the beginning, it might be that you know someone or a brand just exists, and then you get to know them a little bit. And then it helps define who you actually are. And you get into that rare territory of forgiveness, where no matter what you do, you'll be forgiven. A great example of that is Apple, when they introduced the iPhone 5. And I'm sure some of you will remember they removed Google Maps from it. Now, millions of people still went on to buy that iPhone 5, and they forgave Apple for that. But I would have to say that for me and for a number of other people, it probably slightly tarnished their reputation. So I would ask you, where does your brand sit on this relationship arc? And more importantly, where do you think your customers would place you on that relationship arc? Because what we all strive for is, how do I move up that arc? How do I get people to absolutely believe in me as a brand? And what we would say is always start by placing the user first. In Google, we say, focus on the user and all else will follow. Because before they'll buy a product from you, before they're going to think about you, you need to listen to your audience. You need to absolutely identify what are their trends, what are their passions, so that when they're on their user journey, when they're looking to buy a product or use a service, your advertising, your communication is going to be useful to them, rather than something they're just going to discard and not look at all. So let's think about it. Who are my audience? Where are they? And how do I really have a conversation with them? It's a bit like when you're looking for a new partner. You want to find that perfect person who's sitting out there, but you're thinking, oh, how do I actually talk to somebody if I did meet them anyway? What would I actually say to them? And so what I'd ask is, for you as advertisers, are you ready to have dynamic conversations with people? Because thinking about the old-fashioned way of top-down, one-way messaging is such an antiquated model. We've completely evolved from broadcasting a very passive, one-way message where people are actually having to receive the messages from you, to what I would say is microcasting, where you're actually developing a relevant conversation with your customer in a moment that matters to your customer. And what we think about is we spend millions of pounds on this big broadcast message. And I'd say that old adage, we know that 50% of our advertising works, we just don't know which 50% that is. And I look at things in a slightly different way, I suppose, because we need to work out a way of communicating in a relevant way and microcasting. So let's take a look at, maybe this is what we're familiar with. Today, when we communicate to our customers, we focus very much on the big exposure, the big reach, trying to get to as many people as possible. And if that's at 100%, we might be reaching the 5% of people where we really engage with them and we have a response to them. And I think we have to look at a different mental model than this and actually flip this on its head, where we actually start with our planning and start with our media around the consumer, where you're going to get engaged reach. It might be customers that already deal with you, or it might be new customers to you. But these are the people who are going to influence all the others who are out there. And it's important to think about how do we communicate with them and how do we focus our media and communications approach around this engaged audience. So let's try to think about who our customers are. Now, I think in the automotive industry, we've traditionally thought of our customers sitting in different demographic cohorts. And we think about the communication messages to them. But technology has really changed all of that today, where customers are constantly always on. They're constantly connected to their devices. And we believe there's a very different cohort that exists today that cuts across all boundaries of ages. We'd like to introduce Gen C.
We're the instant gratification generation, and YouTube is that perfect source for that.
I got to know what's going on every single day.
If you think about movies, right? In the beginning, they were just, people got everything. From the movie theater, there'd be a newsreel or a cartoon before the picture. That's what YouTube presents, but with this dynamic aspect of choice.
I don't care if it's shot with a professional camera. I want the information I'm watching to be engaging.
After I've shared a video, I like to see if people watched it or see what they thought about it.
I love my guy friends, but I don't connect with them. After I watch College Humor for like about an hour, I feel like I'm ready to be somebody's bro.
Not only do I have a chance to look at the content, but then I can tell them what I thought of it. That interaction maybe is a big component for me.
YouTube's more community-based than television. We have conversations and comments.
It's more relatable because they don't have like a whole chain of command to probably like go through to like, put out this content.
Oh, should I not share her video because that's like, oh, she posted it? And I noticed 148,000 people shared that video, so I didn't feel bad sharing it as well.
I'm creating to share with people.
People have always been creative, but the means to get that message out there is more accessible.
It's a good way to learn about languages too. Like currently I'm trying to learn French, so I've been going on YouTube. My French is very bad. I'm still learning. Je ne parle français, which means I'm not good at French.
YouTube, I feel, is a book full of possibilities that never ends. You can find anything you want on YouTube.
I'm glad his French is probably as bad as mine is from my schoolgirl days of learning French. So Generation C, the connectors, the creators, the curators who seek community so their voices can be heard. These are the mavens who will influence our world today and tomorrow. And what's important is that these are not a demographic. As I said before, this is a psychographic. These customers cut across all boundaries of age. And what's more important, they are the customers who are buying our cars and having them serviced today. And they're outstandingly going to be the customers of tomorrow as well. And they are absolutely unique because they are highly engaged individuals who make absolutely purposeful decisions about the way in which they lead their lives. They're completely empowered by technology. They live in the moment and they live always on. And they like to engage with absolutely authentic technology and authentic information. Interestingly, the internet is their main source of information, but they haven't just got rid of all the other broadcast media. However, when they're watching TV, for example, they may be augmenting that experience with tweets and with +1s and be talking to their friends on different social platforms. So they take the traditional media and they augment it and add to the viewing experience. And the act of creation is important to them, but they only create when it's really valuable to them. Interestingly, I saw a picture the other day of a guy taking a photograph of his breakfast, and it's got about 25 different comments against that, which I thought was a bit strange myself. But also, you look at people who make videos of themselves eating a biscuit, and they put it in slow motion and post it to YouTube, and they have over 1 million views. The reason is because we like the everyday, but we like to see it differently. We like to see unique views of the universe to help us create a richer experience and a richer world for ourselves. And this is what the creators try to help us with. Not only do they create, they curate. They're looking for shareable content, and they seek it out in many different places. They look for not only share-worthy content in one individual place, but because they're very time poor, they go to aggregators like YouTube and so forth to find interesting information to share. And why does it feel good for them to share? Well, like it might feel good for me to share my holiday snaps with my friends, which I do on a regular basis. It's great when they comment back to me and say, well, that was looks like it was a fantastic holiday. I get pleasure from sharing and they get pleasure from commenting back. And that's what it's all around for the people who are curating. And finally, for Gen Z, it's about a sense of community. They're hungry for this. And it's not just necessarily their friends and family, but it's the far-flung people around them as well. Whether it's the fans or whether it's the people that they're following, these are the people that they're trying to talk to. And within their community, they're prepared to consider brands as well. There's no reason why not to. However, they have to engage with you in the way they want to be engaged with. They don't want messages. They don't want to be talked at. They want to be talked to and have a conversation with the brands around them. And it's a litmus test, really, for the information that you create, whether they're prepared to stay with you or maybe whether they're not, if you're talking to them in the right manner. So it's about a value exchange, talking to the customers in a way that may educate them or inform them or empower them or entertain them that's really important. And this is the conversation, and it's finding a way to have the right conversation with these people today. But how do we do that successfully? Let's take a look at a couple of examples. This is Chevy. I don't know if we've got anyone here from Chevrolet today. No? This is Chevrolet, who in the US introduced Chevy Sonic. And for Chevy, they wanted to not only create awareness and consideration for the brand, but they really wanted to get engagement with a new audience. And it was finding out what that audience wanted. They made a number of YouTube videos in 2011, 3-minute videos of the Chevy Sonic doing amazing firsts. Whether that was parachuting out of an aeroplane or bungee jumping, they were trying to engage an audience. And with music being of real importance to the audience that they were talking to, they made a video with OK Go, which I don't know if you know the band, makes some quite quirky music videos, and had tremendous success. 25 million views of this video. And we have to remember that a video view is as powerful, or if not more powerful, than a TV view, because it's an absolutely engaged view when they're watching it on YouTube. And for Chevy, it was a great success. Customers wanted to engage with them. Whether it was likes or whether it was comments, they were absolutely doing them. So for them, it was a great success. But not only that, it was a sales success. They became #1 in the subcompact car segment in the US. So for them, it was a win all round. And I'm sure you might be intrigued to have a look at maybe something that they did. So this is one of the shortened videos of one of the Chevy Sonic firsts.
Clear drum roll. 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, green light.
Fantastic video, and they put all their comments into the Let's Do This hub, where all of those comments carry on living. And what's more important for Chevy is that this video isn't dead. It continues to get video views as new customers come in. They may not be running this campaign anymore, but it's still alive on YouTube and customers are still enjoying the amazing content. And this is a quote from the Chevy's digital manager, and I think it encapsulates really well the sense of Chevy's understanding of how to tap into this new audience. She talks about the fact of understanding that they're always on, that the videos have to be authentic, that you have to plan your content but in a sustainable way for the long term. So really powerful comments. So we've got to think differently. Do we think today about advertising or do we think about content, and how do the two differ? Let's take a look at a couple of different videos. I don't know whether you've seen sign spinners. They don't exist in the UK yet, I don't think, but they certainly do in the US. These are two clips, and I'm just going to find out from you afterwards which one you think is advertising and which one you might think is content.
My passion. I'm not just there to hold the sign, I'm there to put on a show. I'm there to entertain people.
Stop it there. Oops, I've given the answer already. So, hopefully you didn't see that. What do you think this one is? Is it advertising or is it content? Content, absolutely. This is the content on this side. This was actually done by a YouTube creator who absolutely tapped into his audience. He knew what he wanted to do and he knew what he wanted to say. He was no better or worse than the first person, who was also amazing, and the video itself is incredible, really beautifully shot. But it wasn't shot for the right audience. The audience who liked sign flipping didn't really get that video at all, and that was actually an ad made for Philips. So it's thinking about the audience and trying to tap in and ensuring you're making the right content for the audience at hand. And we like to look at it in two ways, because customers want different types of content at different points in time. There's a point in time they're just going to be out there browsing. They're looking to be entertained, they're looking to be inspired and see different things. And at this point, we call it hero content. That's what they're looking for. And there's a point in their journey when they're looking to search for information. They're actively trying to find information from you about what you're doing. And we call that hygiene content. Let's just have a quick look at the two different types of content. So hero content. This is a great example from Dove, called Dove Beauty Sketches. Some of you may have seen it. It was an extremely popular campaign, and you can see here how many views it got. It was a long advert. It was beautifully made, or content. It was very beautifully made, and a lot of people interacted with it because it really touched a passion point for many females. And it was successful for Dove because not only did it get their name and get it be seen, is that you saw a great spike in searches around Dove as well, as more people were looking for the product. But we're not bad at it as well. We shouldn't just always give examples from other industries. This is a great example from Volvo with the Volvo Commuter Hijack, which was done earlier this year. And last year as well, I'm just going to point out Peugeot 208. They did a great campaign, Let Your Body Drive, where customers were dancing or attempting to dance, looking at some of the videos, and customers, again, really engaged with the content that was on here, which was very subtle in terms of the way that Peugeot were displayed. And there's other ways to think about content as well. I'm going to give you an example from Chevy. Chevy have actually just launched this in Europe. It's actually not going to be launched in the UK, but Chevy has partnered with some of our bigger YouTube stars and they're using them to make the content. We call these content partnerships. Let's have a look at what Chevy have just launched in the last week. I'm sort of guessing the guy at the end's from Sweden, but I could be wrong. I don't know. They're the type of people that might want to take their trousers down in front of everybody. Who knows? And what about hygiene content? Hygiene content is equally as important as customers are trying to search for you. Whether it's making a decision over whether I can afford a coffered ceiling, I don't think I ever would, but had 1.7 million views. To information to see what does my car really do on the road, or maybe in some cases off the road. How big is it? What can actually fit in the back of the vehicle? What are the reviews like for the car I'm looking to buy? To what are the features and what's the specification and how do they really work? Through to actually, what do I do if something goes wrong? This is great hygiene content that customers are really looking for. But why is it all important? Well, what we do know from our own statistics that we've run this year is that half of all new car buyers who use the internet are using online video. But what's even more surprising is that 75% of all new and used car buyers say they'll use online video when they buy their next car. And 70% of consumers who purchase after-sales parts, service and different accessories and tyres, 70% of those customers similarly say they will use online video when they're going to purchase a service. And they're using all different types of information that you're supplying to them. Whether it's the hygiene content or whether it's the hero content, these are all equally as important to them. They're using all of this information. However, I'd say creating this content doesn't just happen. It doesn't just pop out of the air. It actually has to be thought about. How are you internally managing the content? Who's doing it in your organisation? Who's actually making it for you? Do you have an agency who's making that for you? Are you doing it yourself? Are you using content partners to do that for you? Do you have a content calendar? Are you thinking about what points in time the content needs to surface and how you constantly engage with your audience? And how are you promoting it? How are you seeding it so that more people will see that and share it and like it? This is a really interesting dilemma, and to help us understand a little bit more around that, I'd like to introduce a guest onto the stage who's helping us and helping YouTube do exactly that. I'd like to introduce Matt Rook. Matt is from Channel Flip, and I'm just going to ask him a few questions about how he's helping us develop this. So a warm welcome to Matt, please. Hi, Matt. Good to see you. How are you?
Yes.
So, first of all, tell us about Channel Flip. What is it? What does it do? Because some people here may not have heard of Channel Flip before.
Is there a microphone?
Oh, yep. Sorry, I forgot the mic. Apologies.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Is that on? No? Is that working now? Yes? Here we go. Hello, good afternoon. So yes, my name is Matt Rook. I'm the sales director for a company called Channel Flip, and we are a multi-channel network. Currently, we've got about 185 channels that we look after. At the moment, we're just over 2.1 billion views. We've got about 19 million subscribers. And Belinda's asked me along today to sort of explain a little bit of what we do, what does a multi-channel network do, and how do we get involved with brands. So with the partners that we have, they broadly fall into two areas. So we have commercial partners, and then we also have the sort of the celebrity vlogger channels that we look after. And we help in terms of all of the commercial aspects, the back-end side, looking through their CMS profiles, helping and advising, indeed, you know, depending on the individual user, what is it they are looking to do. But probably one of the areas that we are specializing in is creating original branded content videos. And there are a number of different ways that you can go about this. You know, to pick up on some of the points that Belinda was talking about, for us, this is all about the idea of the evolution of advertising, so moving away from the old advertising model, which is very disruptive and is much harder now to get the cut through, and I would argue has diminishing returns, versus this area of content marketing and actually wanting to create entertaining, informative, educational content that people want to watch, want to share. And for us, you know, we work with a wide range of partners, but in the end, YouTube has come out as head and shoulders as the #1 destination if you want to create this kind of content and put it out there, primarily because of the functionality and the engagement, certainly in terms of, you know, the dialogue that you were referring to earlier. I thought I'd start by showing you a quick example of a campaign that we ran last year. Now, this was for a company called Alienware, which is a hardware gaming company which is owned by Dell. This came about with a brief that we got from their media agency, Mediacom, and they wanted to create an original piece of content that would then be distributed online. And our solution was to look through our list of channel partners for a YouTube creator, a successful YouTube creator that had the right demographic profile and the right kind of editorial flavor. So one of our channels is a guy called Stuart Ashens. About this time last year, I think he had about 250,000 subscribers. I think he's now on about 350,000 subscribers. And we came up with the idea of this scripted, interactive sci-fi thriller. And we have created a little case study to show you today.
Run program. The proxy. My name is Stuart Ashen. Would you like to see my face? Human clone.
Proxies for everyone.
How is that guy still alive? I saw him die. He wasn't actually an examiner.
So that campaign worked particularly well for Alienware, but you know, one of the issues you talked about earlier in terms of the long tail is the fact that that content is still up there, still available for everyone to watch in terms of the individual episodes, but we've also stitched it together as a short film. And since the campaign finished, it's now done another 3 million views. So it just shows the advantages of creating original content that people still want to watch. And so yes, we're very happy about it.
Brands, Matt, what do you do today where you work with brands? Can you give us some examples of some great case studies other than this one in terms of where you've worked with brands and how you've integrated them into some of the YouTube creators, as we call them?
Yeah, so there's probably two key ways that we're working with brands. One very simple way to get involved with the YouTube creative community is to license and commission these celebrity YouTubers to create content. There's lots of advantages to that. One, you know already the audience that they're going to be delivering. They are highly engaged. You generally end up with about a 10% response rate in terms of the total views versus the comments that you're going to get. And so this would be, for instance, we're in the middle of a campaign at Kellogg's at the minute where they've commissioned 14 of these YouTubers to create an individual video once a week over the rest of the summer. However, the other way you can go about it is, which is all about going back to your your KPIs, your objectives, and what is it that you're trying to deliver, and what messages are getting out there over the foreseeable future, is are you looking to actually create original IP and a format that can run and run, and depending on the brand that you are looking after and what are your aspirations, that could be for instance, commissioning an A-list TV celebrity to create original shows. So one of the most successful shows we've created is a show called Soapbox, which is hosted by David Mitchell. I don't know if any of you have seen any of that. No? Few? So we're now on season 4 of that. And for the last 2 years, that's been sponsored by Dell. And I've got a quick... yes, here we go. Here's a clip of this.
The good people of Dell have stumped up a prize, which, rather unimaginatively, is a computer. You'd have thought they'd be bored of computers and would have opted for a absorbing holiday in the Cotswolds or a Shetland pony that can whistle. But no, the prize is a Dell XPS 15Z, which, as regular viewers of these things will know, is one of those computers which spin about on coloured backgrounds for 14 seconds to the accompaniment of a swing band. They're all the rage, trust me. The kids love them. Anyway, the point is we're doing another quiz. Now, the last time we did one, I said the problem with them was coming up with questions, the answers to which are not immediately accessible on Google or, I was about to say, or other search engine, but then I remembered this isn't the BBC, so we can be honest, on Google.
Maybe just share with us one example that's maybe more automotive related. Have you worked with anything to showcase maybe some automotive, not necessarily partnering with an automotive brand, just be interested to see some of the channels that you may work with from an automotive perspective?
Yes, we have. So there's a couple of quick clips that I'm going to finish with. So one of the celebrities that we work with is Rob Llewellyn, who you may remember is Crichton from Red Dwarf, but we actually look after his YouTube channels. He is a very keen sort of green fuels and energy guy. He's very much into electric vehicles. And there are 2 very successful YouTube channels that we operate and help commercialize and find sponsors for. The first, I think we've got them both stitched together in the clip, is that right? Yes. So I think the first one is Carpool. There we go. Carpool, which was a fantastic format. So, this really is an opportunity for showcasing the vehicle, but equally, it's quite an interesting format in terms of, it's basically a interview format, but rather than the interviewee and the interviewer being sat opposite one another, they're sat at the front seat of the car. And actually, you end up with some very interesting and insightful interviews, because I think it's something to do with the fact that they're not actually looking at one another. So that was a show that we did with Toyota. And then as well as that, he's got another channel which is called Fully Charged. And this was a very different approach. In the end, the sponsor for that was British Gas. Fully Charged is a channel which is all about, as I mentioned, the kind of green energies, smart meters was a particular interest. And it was more, from British Gas's point of view, these are the subjects, these are the areas that they know their customers are interested in, and they wanted to promote themselves in a positive light and make sure that their customers understood that they realise these are issues that people are concerned about, and they want their audience to acknowledge and realise the fact that British Gas are looking into it.
Hello there, carpoolers. It's Robert Llewellyn here with a little bit of an update. I haven't seen the other series I do, which is called Fully Charged, which is also on YouTube. I really think it's worth giving it a look. Fully Charged looks at things like the car I'm in now, the Nissan Leaf. It looks at amazing new breakthroughs in technologies to do with generating and distributing power.
You see that? In Berlin, that's just normal. So, Mark, I'm in Berlin. It's a lovely city, but it is a horrible day. So, can I get a car?
There are plenty of cars.
Yes.
It's a big city. There's some car sharing themes in Berlin. They are sitting all over the place. They don't have fixed stations. They just park here like every other car. You grab one, you drive it, and when you're done, you park it.
Wow. There's a lot.
So I think it's fantastic to have Matt here because it really demonstrates the richness of some of the creative talent that you're working with, Matt, in terms of some of the channels and also some of the opportunities of how you can actually work with some of the amazing people that are content creators and how this can be matched up with brands as well. So Matt, I'd like to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for coming in and sharing with us some of these great ideas and thoughts, and hopefully that will give you food for thought as well. So can I say a big thank you to Matt for coming in and joining us today. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.
So as we can see here, things have changed a lot from maybe the way business was a number of years ago. And we have to do so much more now to think about how to get onto a consumer's shopping list. How they can get to know your brand, how you can get to know your audience, how you can develop the right messages to microcast to your consumers in a relevant and engaging way, and creating that compelling content for them. And in such a way, orchestrating a complete conversation from start to finish and making sure that conversation lives on. So thank you for listening. Hopefully it's given you some food for thought. And let's just take another quick look at some other partnerships that we have for you in Google and with YouTube. Thank you.